Hey guys, Jen here. So I'm a person who practices what I preach, so I wanted to post a quick video with my I do not consent and I do consent. But first, watch for a live this evening. I think it will be entertaining to some, but revealing to those of us who have read the prophecies of Daniel in the book of Daniel. And it gets deep. It gets into some stuff that we've already covered about black goo. So it could be important for some of you. So, because I asked everybody to do a video about what they consent to or do not consent to, just so it gets out there and it's in the airwaves and you're verbally speaking it, truth to power. Our words have power. So here goes. I do not consent to neuromonitoring. I do not consent to stalking. I do not consent to smear campaigns. I do not consent to my town being full of perps who are policing each other. Yes, it's good to keep an eye on your neighborhood and to know your neighbors. No, it's not a good idea to practice voyeurism on your own citizens, because in case you haven't figured this out yet, this is a military operation. You need to research Project Paperclip. Hitler was big into the occult. Everything they're doing also, just so you're aware, the same symptoms, quote unquote symptoms, are attributed to demonic oppression, repression, and possession. So you have to be really spiritually sound, and it's, if you are a person of faith, because if not, if you're weak and if you don't gear up spiritually and put the full armor of God on, you could fall victim and become a perpetrator against people. You could fall victim to becoming demonized. They tried to demonize me. That's why my body was violated, I believe. And they almost succeeded. Almost. So anyway, I do not consent to harm coming to my children or my dogs, even though my children were involved. I do not consent to abuse of women, children, those that are infirm, those who are disabled. I do not consent to any of that type of abuse. And I want to make something very clear. I know that people don't like the word victim now, but let me make a point. Did you never heard the song, the old 80s song, No Victim, No Crime? If there is no victim, then there is no crime, and we cannot counteract this with what it is. This is war crimes. We are victims of war crimes, okay? And they want to get rid of the word victim. And now I'm not telling you to behave like a victim, okay? I'm not telling you to have the mentality of a victim. But I am saying that they want to get rid of that word, because if there is no victim, then there is no crime being perpetrated. Do you see how this works? It's all words, man. You have to counteract it and know their own strategies and look up natural law as well. So I do not consent to the molestation of children or anyone who does not consent. I am not participating in any of that. I do not consent to being deceived on a daily basis. I do not consent to poison being in the food, air, and water. If it is there, please pray over your food, your water, bless it. If you feel all right doing it, do the sign of the cross over it. Trust me, it does help. I know not everybody is religious. I know we don't all share the same beliefs. Whatever your beliefs are, make them work for you and get out of that belief system if it is demonic or diabolical, if there is harm, being perpetrated against others, because it might be great now if you're a perp, but in the long run, you're just on the bottom rung like the rest of us, and they're going to sweep you away with us, I believe, when this new regime takes full effect, okay? So just a little bit. I do not consent to being spied on in my own dwelling place, especially where I pay to live. I do not consent to extortion, which is huge in this. Most of these people have their bills covered. They have their gas covered. That's why they do it, is because they're lazy. They don't have to work as hard. So I do not consent to any of those shenanigans. I don't participate. I do not consent to guns being in my home or my presence, especially, again, where I pay to live. And I do not consent to any abuse coming to me, mentally, spiritually, or physically, especially in a place where I pay to live. Again, so these are just examples. I do consent to love, true love, which is speaking the truth, and it is putting somebody else's welfare before your own. That's real love, okay? I'm not telling you to neglect yourself at all. Again, you have to be well balanced to be able to maintain in this ordeal that we are all going through. I do firmly believe this is the end of an age, if not the end times. I do believe we will have divine intervention. I know people are listening to me. I know people in YouTube are in the club because they say things that I say aloud. And I mean, these are big channels. They get information from those of us who do see things, and we have the eyes and the ears to see. Some of us have certain abilities or gifts. All of us are gifted in a variety of different ways, but not all the same. Use those to your advantage. It's okay to do that. That's why God gives them to you, okay? I do not consent to the destruction of my personal property, my relationships. I do not consent to... What else? What else am I missing? I'm sure it's something. I do not consent to being persecuted or persecution of others for their beliefs or their skin tone or their religion or their ethnicity or gender. Even I don't consent to the persecution of people for their sexual orientation. I just think that there's way too much talk about that. And it's odd, right? It's just not normal to be that preoccupied with your, lady business or man business or whatever the case may be. There's something wrong there. And I'm going to talk about where that's all coming from in tonight's live. So I hope to see you there. God bless. Chin up. You got this. Stay strong. Stay spiritually strong. Stay sober and eat clean. All those things help. I love you guys. Bye.